Yes, welcome to today's video. We're going to do our market breakdown, continuing from where we have started and then going into this new month. So it's really good that the monthly candles have closed, and we've seen how last month has moved in terms of bullishness or bearishness across all pairs. And all we have to do is see whether we can continue from last month's momentum into this new month, and therefore determining how this month is going to be. So it is important to understand the candle, how the candles have closed in the previous month, and use them to determine the future. So looking at DXY, we're still scaling up from the highest time frame possible, which in this case, we looked at the yearly time frame. So on the yearly time frame, you realize that the DXY is actually very bullish and is headed all the way up to this resistance area. So, and then before it heads here, we have a wick which has not been closed. So the market had come all the way to these highs and then pulled back, and now we are seeing this wick being closed. So this will be also another high that we shall possibly be targeting. But why is this wick being closed? The reason why it is being closed, because this was an area where the market could not break, or what you would like to call your resistance area. So now we are trading around this region to complete this week and therefore come all the way to this resistance, meaning on the yearly time frame, which is the 12-month time frame, the dollar is very bullish, the dollar is strong. Yeah, so with that being seen, let's look at another area where the market has actually broken above. So we see a break into this, and once we cannot see more action on this smaller time frame, we can, on this larger time frame, we can now come back to the monthly time frame. In this case, we still have 2 months to go for the yearly candle to be able to close. So the monthly candle has just closed and it's looking good. So on the monthly chart, we also had an area below here where the market could not break, therefore acting as our support area, just the same way we had this support area around this region. And with that being said, we realize now this is the week that the market is trying to fill, but we also had an area of break here that we shall consider. So whatever happens here, we shall first target this, and then this one to be filled, and then eventually to this. But with that being said, let's look closely at our monthly candle. This monthly candle closed very bullish, meaning there is a possibility of the next of bullishness to continue. So with that being said, we can see an area where the market has broken below. So all that we have to do now is see whether price can come back to retest this region and therefore be able to bounce back up, fill this gap. And then if there is any break, then we can target this. But this is what we have on the monthly chart for now. So with that being said, it's important to look at the weekly chart. So don't forget, we had an area here, which was also a resistance area, and it was broken. So now the best areas to look for further dollar strength will be around these two regions. So with that being said, we can come to our weekly chart and see further price action. So on the weekly chart, we still have these clear breaks. Okay, let me remove this. So we have these clear breaks, this and this. So these are the two areas in which we shall look for further strength of the DXY. So will the strength occur here after this one is retested, or will the market still come all the way to down here and retest that? That is what we shall have to see. And of course, coming to our lower time frames, which is the daily, we can already see that this area has been retested and price looks to be headed back up. But then now we'll see more action. So these are the two scenarios that we have. So there can be a quick turnaround from this area and price heads back to this other resistance area, or there will be a pullback all the way up to here. So these are the scenarios we have for this month. So looking at DXY, that is what we can conclusively say. So on the bigger time frame, it's very bullish. Okay, so once we've seen DXY, it is important to look at other dollar pairs. So we can just go to gold. So let's look at gold and then understand how gold is moving on the bigger picture in regards to the understanding of the DXY. So again, from the highest time frame possible, you realize gold had reached to about 2000, and then from the area of $2,072, we're seeing a rejection of price around that region. So here we have our lows, the yearly lows and the yearly high. So market is trading around this area, whereby now we're seeing a decrease in the value of gold as per the strength of the dollar. So once the dollar is strong, the people actually tend to have more money in the dollar, and gold reduces in value. But once there is an economic uncertainties, investors flock to buying gold. So these are the scenarios. So gold is bearish, so it's not a good time to actually buy gold now. You just have to wait a little bit. So when you see the gold chart on the monthly chart, these are the areas of break. So we have the whole of this region where the bearish candle has broken below, meaning we can actually possibly have a retest to these regions and then head back down. In case the economy is still certain as it looks, head back down with these areas of support, which will be our first targets. And then eventually we can be able to target these lows here, 1,600. But that will depend on how these areas is being broken. So going into the weekly, you realize also there's a serious and a massive break to the downside. Again, we will want to see price come pull back to these areas, and then therefore possibly retest and come for our past target, and then eventually that. So there's nothing much really on gold. Gold is just bearish. This is not a good time to buy gold. If you buy gold, you are likely to be in a drawdown before it can bounce off. So that is gold. Let's look for one more pair on the dollar, and then we can call it up. So look at the dollar, the USD-CAD. So USD-CAD, how is it playing out? Let me get for us the old one. So USD-CAD, again, with the idea of the dollar strength. So we can see market is correcting to these highs. And then we had a break here. And all of a sudden we have on the monthly chart, what do we have? We have an area of support which has not been broken. Price kind of bounced up from here, and we have an area of break of structure above this. And now we are headed all the way up to these highs. Again, that is corresponding with the way the dollar is going. So you see, this is an area where the market actually came to retest on the weekly and is headed back all the ways to these highs and then all the way to these highs. So coming to the daily, we are also seeing a lot of bullishness. So we can just head up to complete this, stuff like that. So again, the dollar strength is being confirmed across the pairs we just looked at. So let's call it that for the dollar. And then we can go into other pairs. So in this case, let's just go to the euro pairs. Look at some of the euro pairs and see how they're doing, starting with the EURCAD. So how is EURCAD doing? Let's look at EURCAD on the monthly chart. And also not forgetting the bigger picture, which is the yearly chart. So if you look at the yearly chart, it's bearish on the yearly chart because this is an area of resistance the market could not actually go past, and we have a wick which has to be filled eventually and with time here. So will this head all the way down up to here? That is what we shall have to see. So looking at the charts on the monthly perspective, so this was an area of resistance. Price could broke below this, came back to form a low and headed backward, and then price cannot go further up to these areas. And now we see this bearishness. So will this bearishness just continue from here all the way up to here? That's what we shall have to see and trade. So there's a lot of bearishness in the market. So we have an area of break of structure here. Once we come to the weekly level, so these are the areas in which we shall begin to see. So we had other resistance area here. And now all we're waiting for is see whether we can have a retest of these areas and therefore be able to head back down all the way to these lows, which will in turn break this. So this is what we have on the EURCAD. So everything else is just patience. It's just patience. waiting for the right timing and the right entries. So with that being said, we can go to another CAD pair, and then we can call it, so let's look at AUDCAD. Okay, so how is AUDCAD looking on the bigger picture? So bigger picture again, it's very bearish. All right, the CAD is strong the same way the CAD is strong with the Euro. CAD with the Aussie is also strong. We are very bearish, heading all the ways to these lows here. But then looking at that on the monthly chart, we had an area of resistance here, and the market has actually been trending to the downside. And then we had an area of temporary, we had the support area here where the price is actually bouncing off from. And now we see our monthly high being this, which will also act as our resistance area, and see whether price will be able to break above this monthly resistance before it can actually come back to take us this low out, because we are still hoping for bearishness because of the bigger time frame picture. So these are the areas we will be looking at AUDCAD. So will AUDCAD be able to break this resistance before it can head down, or will it just change from here? So this is what we have on the EURCAD, knowing that the CAD is strong on the bigger picture. So we're just having some pullbacks. We can look at another pair, which is GBPAUD, just a few pairs which are actually looking very good and attractive to be traded. So looking at GBPAUD, again from the bigger picture, we want to see. So on the bigger picture, we're seeing a pullback into these areas of resistance because price is actually moving in a channel here where we had this. Okay, so if you had that, but also not forgetting that this is also, we had this support area, price is breaking. So you have your support, and then you have your trend line, price is seemingly headed upwards. But then if you look at it on the monthly chart, it will also give us a good clue on how this whole thing is moving. So if you look at this area, we will realize that this is an area of supply, that our supply area, because we had a break here, and then market comes, heads into this area, and then it is bounced off, and price is rejected from continuing further to these highs. But if you look at this monthly candle, close very bearish. So with the break of these lows, the break of these lows now, and then we have other previous monthly lows to this. So we are seeing there is a possibility of the market actually pulling back to this and then coming back to test these lows before anything else can happen. So this month has closed bearish. There's a possibility of the bearishness going to continue with the retest of these areas here. This is what we have on GBPAUD. So again, it is important to look at some of the fundamentals that are going to be happening this week so that we can better position and align ourselves. So on Monday, which will be the 2nd, we really don't have anything much significant on that day. So it's going to be a normal trading, not until we have 5 p.m. We have the US manufacturing PMI. And then we have Fed Chair Well speaks. That's at 6 p.m. So those are the major fundamental events. So we've already looked at how the dollar is strong. So will these upcoming data sets be able to fuel further dollar strength, or will they make some temporary dollar weakness and stuff like that? So coming into Tuesday, on the Tuesday, we have the Aussie Australian cash rate, and then the statement, the rate statement at 6 p.m., 6:30 a.m. So that is very important. And then on Tuesday, we have the Swiss CPI. And therefore, later on that evening, we will be having our US job openings. So that's what we have on Tuesday. And then on New Zealand, on Wednesday, we have New Zealand official cash rates. So from Tuesday into the rest of the week, we really do have a lot of fundamental events, and then we round off on Friday with a lot of Canadian events that are coming, high impact events, things to do with unemployment change, employment rate, average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change for the Canadian, for the US, NFP. So don't forget, this is the week we are going into is going to be an yeah, so that is what we have. So we want to say you have to trade cautiously and trade well. You know, it is important to look at the market on a bigger picture and then therefore be able to scale up from there.